Welcome back to the channel. Today we are going to explore a serious and realistic question about our planet. What would happen if all the ice on Earth melted completely? Not just some glaciers, not just the Arctic, but every single piece of ice on the planet. How would Earth change? What would happen to oceans, weather, animals, and food? And in the end, would humans survive or not? Let's try to understand this step by step, like a short documentary. Right now, ice exists mainly in Antarctica, Greenland, high mountains, and polar oceans. This ice has been building up for millions of years. It stores most of the fresh water on Earth and plays a very important role in keeping the planet cool. If all this ice melted, the first and biggest change would be sea level rise. Scientists estimate that global sea level would rise by about 70 meters. That is enough to completely reshape the continents. 70 meters may not sound like much, but almost all major cities in the world are built near the sea. This is because oceans make trade and travel easier. But in this situation, oceans become the biggest threat. Cities like New York, London, Tokyo, Shanghai, Mumbai, and many others would slowly flood and eventually disappear underwater. Subways, underground cables, sewage systems, and power lines would fail first. After that, buildings would become unsafe and abandoned. This would not happen in one day. It would take years or decades. But once the process starts, it cannot be stopped. As coastal areas flood, billions of people would be forced to move inland. This would become the largest migration in human history. Countries with mountains and high land would become overcrowded. Low-lying countries and islands would almost completely disappear. This movement of people would create serious political and social problems. Borders would lose meaning. Governments would struggle to control resources. Conflicts over land, water, and food would increase. At the same time, Earth's climate would begin to change rapidly. Ice reflects sunlight back into space. When ice disappears, dark land and ocean absorb more heat. This causes global temperatures to rise even faster. As a result, weather systems become unstable. Storms grow stronger. Heat waves become more intense. Rainfall patterns change completely. Some regions would face constant flooding, while others would experience long droughts. Agriculture would suffer badly because farming depends on stable seasons and predictable weather. Many rivers that depend on glacier melt, especially in Asia and South America, would slowly dry up. This would affect drinking water for hundreds of millions of people. Food production would decline. Crop failures would become common. Food prices would rise sharply, and hunger would spread across the world. The oceans would also change in dangerous ways. When massive amounts of fresh water enter the oceans, the balance of salt changes. This affects ocean currents, which are responsible for moving heat around the planet. If these currents slow down or stop, regional climates would shift dramatically. Some places would become much colder, while others would become unbearably hot. Marine life would suffer greatly. Many fish species rely on specific temperatures and currents to survive and migrate. Coral reefs would collapse due to heat and chemical changes in the water. As fish populations decline, millions of people who depend on fishing would lose their main food source and income. Animals on land would also be affected. Species that depend on cold environments, such as polar bears and penguins, would disappear quickly. But the impact would not stop there. As forests burn from extreme heat and water sources dry up, animals would lose their habitats. Many species would not be able to adapt fast enough and would go extinct. This would cause a chain reaction in ecosystems, affecting insects, birds, and even plant life. Another serious problem would be disease. Warmer temperatures in flooded areas create perfect conditions for bacteria and insects. Mosquitoes would spread to new regions, carrying diseases with them. Old diseases could return, and new ones could emerge. Healthcare systems, already under pressure from disasters and migration, would struggle to cope. Now, the big question: would humans survive? The answer is yes, but not easily. Humans are adaptable. We can use technology, planning, and cooperation to survive extreme conditions. People would likely settle in higher regions, cooler climates, and areas less affected by flooding. Cities would become smaller and more self-sufficient. Farming methods would change. Technology would focus on survival rather than comfort. However, the global population would be much smaller than today. Modern civilization, as we know it, would no longer exist. Life would be harder, slower, and more dangerous. Over long periods of time, Earth would begin to stabilize again. New coastlines would form. New ecosystems would develop. Nature would adapt to the warmer, ice-free planet. Humans would still be here, but no longer in control of the planet. They would be one species among many, trying to live within Earth's limits. So, if all the ice on Earth melted, the planet would survive, nature would survive, but human civilization would be changed forever. The future of ice is directly connected to the future of humanity. What happens next depends on the choices humans make today. Thanks for watching. If you enjoy realistic science documentaries like this, make sure to subscribe and stay curious about the world we live in.